I would like to say that I really don't understand the incumbents' motivation or where they're coming from. I don't want to say that the person is intentionally lying, but I do think that it's an example of not having the information and putting out wrong information. SB244 requires ethnic studies be taught in K through 12 schools.
This is Randy Booth for State School Board District 13. Let me clarify for my opponent. Last week I posted, quote, "The 10 toxic elements of ethnic studies outlined by my opponent are not being taught in Utah schools. In fact, there are no plans for them to ever be taught." Note that I was referring specifically to the 10 toxic elements outlined by my opponent. Clearly, the Utah State Legislature has required the State Board of Education to incorporate ethnic studies into the core standards for Utah public schools in Senate Bill 244. Ethnic studies is defined by the legislature, meaning the interdisciplinary social and historical study of how different populations have experienced and participated in building the United States of America, including the study of the culture, history, and contributions of Utahns of diverse ethnicities. Before the State Board takes formal action to incorporate ethnic studies into the core, the legislature requires that the State Board shall consult first with the Ethnic Studies Commission and submit the proposed core standards incorporating ethnic studies to the Ethnic Studies Commission for review and recommendations. In incorporating ethnic studies into the core standards, the State Board shall consider at a minimum existing core standards that increase cultural awareness of and focus on the character traits described in Section 53G 10204 for all Utah communities. An LEA thereafter shall implement an ethnic studies curriculum that, at a minimum, focuses on shared identity and honoring unique cultural differences, including that each individual student has unique characteristics, the common elements that unite Utahns, and respect for distinct sociocultural identities, and includes themes including cultural histories within the context of United States history and global history. An LEA shall modify or revise as needed the ethnic studies instructional materials and curriculum that the LEA selects as described in subsection 5A to ensure alignment with core standards, incorporating ethnic studies, and submit a report to the State Board that provides evidence that the LEA is complying with the requirements of subsections 5A and B. Note that the ethnic studies resource that is being introduced by my opponent, published by a local Utah publishing company, would likely not be chosen by local LEAs as a resource or as the curriculum for ethnic studies in Utah schools, unless it was able to make the required changes so that the materials would be in compliance with the standards that have been created by the State Board. After 20 years on school boards in Utah, I assure you that I definitely understand the process of developing academic standards and the rigor with which those standards would be vetted, reviewed, and implemented at the local level by local LEAs. I appreciate your vote for Utah State School Board District 13.